The wait is almost over. The 2022 NFL Draft is just a couple hours away. So today's video, we're going to round up the latest NFL Draft rumors, get all the crumbs, all the nuggets, and get it out to you guys before Roger Goodell announces the first pick, which I think it's going to be Hutchinson, but Trayvon Walker's getting some buzz lately. Now, I want to start the video off by saying if you love the draft, even though the Browns don't have a first-round pick, like the video, because it's just so much fun to sit there and watch and see some fans melt down when they don't get the guy they want, and some fans just be delirious when a certain player falls to them. So hit that thumbs up icon if you love the draft, because how can you not love the NFL Draft? First up, we're going to check out the latest Baker Mayfield trade buzz, though. We're going to see what's out there because we're still waiting to find out if Baker's going to be a draft day trade, or do we have to wait until training camp for a potential injury to happen? We don't root for that, but you never know. It is a real thing. So I was looking at some notable mock drafts that came out late last night, early draft day morning, because I want to see who they have the Panthers going with. I think Carolina is the most likely outcome, and what do the experts think? Well, Pro Football Focus, Chris Collinsworth's mock draft had Kenny Pickett going to Carolina at number 6. All right, well, we don't want to see that. And then we get a run of Charles Cross from Daniel Jeremiah at NFL.com. The Athletic had Charles Cross going to the Panthers at number 6. Todd McShay in his mock draft this morning had Evan Neal, so a different offensive tackle, going to the Panthers. And CBS in their final mock draft had Charles Cross as well, ending up with the Panthers at that pick number 6. So I just think this is going to be utter chaos. I bet right now as I film today, the Panthers don't know who they're picking at 6. For a couple of reasons. One, they got to wait for 5 picks to happen. But even if they were told, hey, here's who will be available at number 6, I bet they're still having arm wrestles and thumb wars to figure out who they're going to go with, if they want to go the quarterback route with Pickett or Willis, or invest in one of these top tackles and trade for Baker Mayfield. David Newton, who covers the Panthers for ESPN, their beat writer, said this: Carolina Panthers general manager Scott Fitter met with Sam Darnold on Monday and told the number 3 of the 2018 NFL, number 3 pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, there's a pretty good chance the team will add a quarterback during the upcoming draft weekend. Not ideal for Baker Mayfield to be traded to the Panthers, if you hear that. I'll say why more in just a second, but first, will Baker be traded during the draft? Y for yes, N for no. Time for you guys to really have your voices heard here on the show. Let me know if you think Baker will be traded during the NFL Draft. I've got a wild card trade I'll show you in just a second, but quickly just to recap that quote right there, remember the Panthers don't have a second or a third pick. One went for Darnold, one went for C.J. Henderson. So if they're going to add a quarterback, are they going to pass on one at 6 and wait all the way until round 4? I don't know, Jim. Now, here's my wild idea, though, of a Baker Mayfield trade. I saw a couple of you guys commenting this during my live show. Remember to subscribe if you ever want to join a live show. And it doesn't, jump out as way too out of bounds. So here's what it is. The Browns and the Lions swip second-round picks. Detroit moves back to 44. Cleveland goes up to 34. And the Lions pick up Baker Mayfield for moving back 10 spots. That's just a rough idea, like a shell, because Baker's got that $18 million contract. So if the Lions take on all $18 million of that, then I'm guessing Cleveland says, all right, we'll also add on a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick to compensate. But if Detroit says, no, we'll take all of that, or we want half and half, then maybe some extra picks go around. But that's just an idea of a potential move up even closer to round number 1. NFL reporter Mark Sessler, he has a crazy idea I saw on Twitter this morning, saying Baker, he had 10 bold predictions. One of them, or 2 of them, Baker goes to Seattle ultimately for a 4th-round draft pick, and Cleveland moves up to draft George Pickens. Not so sure about the Seattle part. I don't know if you trade, if you signed Geno Smith to a deal up to $7 million and you've got Drew Lock on your books for $4 million, if you want to add a 3rd quarterback, that just seems like a bit crowded to me. Yeah, I like the idea of moving up for Pickens. We'll talk more about Pickens later on in the show when we look at players who could slip into round 2. So the back half of today's show is a couple guys to keep an eye on for late in round 1 to be like, please don't pick this guy, please don't pick this guy. And hopefully we'll see a handful of those players slip into round 2, and that's where Cleveland can make some noise to get them with that 44th overall pick. First up, though, if you're looking for free Browns draft coverage, make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports, the Cleveland Browns Report with yours truly, Matthew Peterson, for free Browns draft coverage. Like I said, we are 250-ish subs away from 8,000 subscribers. Before I started filming today, boss man here at Chat Sports kind of gave me one of those like extra tough nudges saying, let's get to 8K. So help me out. Hit that big red button if you're looking for free Browns news and rumors. That's the channel you have stumbled across today. A couple names to watch for, though, in the draft process that could slip into round 2. Treylon Burks, at one time was a bona fide first-round pick. Well, now some teams, because this is what the NFL draft does, even though they haven't played in 4 months, they bring guys up and they tear them down for no good real reason other than the draft is so far away from the end of the season. We got to talk about something. So we'll build some guys up and we'll bring some guys down in the process. So keep an eye on Burks. This is an interesting name. I saw this. George Karlaftis. Some had him going as top 10 early in mock drafts. Then he slipped into the teens. Now he's in the late teens, early 20s range. And now some people, and we'll show you why, are worried he may fall out of round 1 altogether. Just like Nakobe Dean, linebacker from Georgia. Another player that you thought was a slam dunk first-round pick. Well, Todd McShay at ESPN, hold the phone. Here's what he said. 3 prospects I've heard who could fall out of round 1. Georgia linebacker Nakobe Dean, Purdue defensive end George Karlaftis, and Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum. Dean is the most likely of the trio to still be a first-rounder. Well, we don't need a center in this draft, so we'll ignore Linderbaum. But let's compare Karlaftis and Dean for a second. I mean, not apples to apples, of course. You've got a defensive end in George Karlaftis, who has triple steak as his order at Chipotle. A bit of a try-hard move, in my opinion. And then Nakobe Dean, linebacker from Georgia. I've never been a fan of Karlaftis. Back when the Browns had that 13th pick and we were like, should we go wide receiver or defensive end? I've always felt George Karlaftis was a player that made the most of broken plays. Awesome. You'll get broken plays against Rutgers' offensive line. You won't get that in the NFL. I do like Dean a lot, though. I'd also love it if you joined us over at Chat Sports for the NFL Draft. We will be going live for all 3 days, every single pick, from round 1 to the Mr. Irrelevant pick, all 7 rounds. So subscribe at youtube.com/chatsportstv. It is the best place to get NFL draft coverage on YouTube, guaranteed. So make sure you subscribe, join us. We'll be going live. We'll be having fun. We'll also be breaking down the picks and letting you know who the players are and not letting you know about a traumatic childhood story they had that ESPN loves to tell you about in the greatest moment of their career, and it's really strange. So make sure you join us over at Chat Sports for the NFL Draft tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. Another name to watch for, David Ojabo. At one time, first-round lock, we thought, right? I mean, this guy flew up the draft charts. And then he ruptures Achilles last month during his pro day in Ann Arbor. Always sucks to see that. But the guy broke out onto the scene in his second season in Michigan. 11 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. You don't need me to add much more color to this picture. The guy was a beast last year for Michigan. Sorry, Buckeyes fans, but we all saw it in the rivalry week, in November. So the big game did not go for a lot of us. But who do you want to fall in round 2? I've got 4 names right there. I'll show you my 5th one in just a second. But who is someone you're like, you know what? This is my guy. And he's right on the fringe of round 1 into round 2. Let's just send a bad tweet out about him. Don't do that. But, like Laramie Tunsil, so other GMs get panicked and they don't pick him, and he falls into round 2. I think Ojabo, though, may be the steal of the draft. He's going to go most likely round 2. Maybe a team like Kansas City, late first round, or Cincinnati picks him. But we're talking about a player who, sure, is coming off a ruptured Achilles. You never want that at any point in your career. That's one of the most devastating injuries to occur. But also, I think we've got the whole medicine doctor thing down as a society. So athletes are returning from injuries way quicker than what we used to see, and our brains are still caught in the past. Like Cam Akers, the Rams running back, came off a ruptured Achilles in 6 months this year. Never seen that before. I'm going to go right ahead right now and say that's never happened. So Ojabo, if he falls to Cleveland at 44, that could be your JOK type of steal of the draft. Final name to watch for, George Pickens. This has been the hottest name in Browns draft Twitter, and for good reason. He may be one of the best wide receivers who's just got so little on tape, we can't confirm it. So that's why he's not a part of the Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Chris Olaves of this draft class. There are some red flags. An anonymous NFL wide receiver coach said this about George Pickens. This comes from The Athletic, by the way. On tape, he is probably a top 5 wide receiver, but there's just so many red flags, and they're big red flags. He's got a lot of growing up to do. If he goes to the right place with a room full of veterans that help him go the right way, I think he'll have a chance. That's like a little sad to say. I think he'll have a chance. All right, well, let's look at the stats. In his career, 3 seasons in Athens, only played in 24 games. Healthy his freshman year, sophomore, junior season, that's when the injuries tacked on. But still, if you ever watched this guy play, you knew what he was capable of if he got to play a full season. It was a bummer when he tore his ACL a year ago, right around now, and there's a lot of hope that him coming off that injury, he played the last 4 games of the season for Georgia, helping them win a natty. He could be the real deal, but the red flags, the character issues have popped up a lot lately. So would you draft George Pickens? You know, are you okay with these red flags coming up all of a sudden? Give me a D for draft, or if you're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with the headache. We did that with other players. I'm not interested in redoing it again. Give me a P for pass. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like I said, if you're looking for free Browns news, rumors, content, or most of all, free Browns draft coverage where we will break down every single pick Cleveland makes in the 2022 NFL Draft, hit that big red button, subscribe. That way you stay in the know. All right, guys, enjoy the NFL Draft. We'll catch up with you later with more Browns draft news and rumors.